So welcome to our Technicon Roundtable. Today we have a talk from Benevity. We're going to hear from Cindy and Bonnie. Super excited about that. This is it's been a while that we had a roundtable. We usually do this once a month, and this is one of the biggest in terms of number of people registering. So I'm not sure how many people are going to show up, but definitely a lot of interest, which is really cool to see. Before I hand it over to Bonnie and Cindy, I just want to give you a little bit about how to participate. So essentially, keep yourself muted. Use the chat as much as possible. If you have any technical issues, ping Tomomi. You probably already know her through either email reminders or the Slack community. We are part of the Technicon, so feel free to introduce yourself, connect with anyone internally, and also connect externally via Slack or Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. So we have a little bit of a following there. So with that, brief history for those of you who are new. So back in 2018, a couple of us working in tech, I was at Twitter at the time, we kind of got together and we noticed that what we do is slightly different, managing learning for technology companies or technical teams, and it was not just the usual sort of like compliance-based learning and development and so forth. So we kind of started getting together informally to compare notes, and that worked really well. And then we said, hey, why don't we actually organize a mini event? So in 2018, Jenny, who was at the time at Salesforce, and Rajan, who was at the time at, I believe, LinkedIn, we got together and we organized the first Technicon, a full-day conference at LinkedIn in Sunnyvale. And then the following year, we did the same thing at Twitter. So it was a full day, once a year sort of experience. So that's what the conference experience is. Since pandemic, we switched to monthly roundtables, which we are participating in one right today. So that's kind of how we started. We have a few hundred people on our Slack channel, and like I said, it's mostly people like yourselves managing various technical team enablement programs. So feel free to connect, join the Slack channel. It's a great place to just interact. Behind the scenes, there's a little bit of a board that gets together once in a while, usually once a year, and we sort of steer which way Technicon could evolve. I see a few people here. So Andrew's here, Andrew, Chris, I saw Rajan and Jasmine. I'm not sure if Katie's here. And of course, Tomomi does most of the work behind the scenes as well. So we have some basic guidelines. So, essentially keep this space a sanctuary where we can create knowledge sharing for us by us. So respect each other's privacy and be a good citizen, etc., etc. So just usually the basic stuff, but we just wanted to codify it and just make sure that everyone understands some basics of the community guidelines. And before I hand it over to today's speakers, I just wanted to kind of put a plug in for December 5th. We're going to do a happy hour somewhere in Bay Area. So Tomomi has more details on that. And then this is going to be in person, so we're going to get together. And in January, we're going to hear about AI. And this is a really interesting topic from Mike Ruska. We've heard Mike speak before at Technicon on a different topic. I just saw him at DevLearn, and he spoke about AI bots, and I thought it was super cool way of thinking about how AI applies to our line of work. So we're going to have him on stage here in January, and then in February we're also going to have repeat presenters. So Joel and Dion, they spoke some time ago about the Coding Dojo, and they're going to talk about their new book, Coaching for Learning. So that's coming up in February. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have signups come out as we approach the actual event dates. And just briefly, Technicon, like I said, is a community by us for us. And what we usually focus on is our topics that roughly fit into what we call team enablement. So it's a combination of things that enable usually technical teams to do their job. So onboarding is an obvious one. Knowledge sharing, especially tacit knowledge sharing, is another one. How we learn collaboratively from one another. Mentorship and coaching is a big one, obviously, and this is what the today's topic is about. Technical documentation, and usually how we track metrics and get insights and understand how well we're doing what we're doing, because it's somewhat fuzzy and harder to sometimes put a finger on that. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to welcome Bonnie and Cindy to talk about technical mentorship at Benevity.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us today. My name is Bonnie Ting, and I'm a software development manager at Benevity. I'm very excited here today to share more about our technical mentorship program. I've been with the company for almost 5 years, and I'm currently managing 2 software teams, working on projects like democratizing our APIs for internal and external consumption, building out integrations with our payment system, and expanding on various donation and reconciliation workflows. I'm also a founding member of our and administrator of our Women's Impact Network, which is our employee resource group supporting and empowering all women at Benevity. In addition to being a committee member of our technical mentorship program, I also help run our passion and innovation program, where everyone at Benevity can spend up to 10% of their working time creating and innovating on projects they're most passionate about.
Thank you, Bonnie. Bonnie is an incredibly tough act to follow, but I'm going to try. My name is Cindy, and I am a leadership program advisor here at Benevity. I've been with Benevity now for almost 3 years, and I've been working with people and culture for the last 10 years. At Benevity, I have the pleasure of onboarding our new hires, along with supporting leadership and people development initiatives. In addition to this technical mentor program, I'm also a steering member of our group mentorship program, and we are very excited to share with you the work that we have done to bring this technical mentor program to life. So to start with, we wanted to share a little bit about Benevity. Benevity is a truly global company with people all over the world. The headquarters are in Calgary in Canada, but we have a large hub of more than 100 people in Barcelona and across Europe, Asia, and Australia. Benevity is a certified B Corporation and the leader in global corporate purpose software, providing the only integrated suite of community investment and employee, customer, and nonprofit engagement solutions. Our cloud offering powers purpose for many iconic brands in ways that better attract, retain, and engage today's diverse workforce. Embed social action into their customer experiences and positively impact their communities. Just a few impact stats we wanted to share is that Benevity has processed more than $12 billion in donations, enabled 58 million hours of volunteering time, supported 418,000 nonprofits worldwide, facilitated 900,000 microactions, and awarded 1.2 million grants worth $18 billion. And we wanted to kick off with one of our favorite quotes. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I will learn, from Benjamin Franklin. This felt very relevant to our program because we knew we wanted to put something in place where we could connect our Benevityites, that's what we call ourselves, and provide them a space to come together, teach and learn from each other, and truly put those learnings actively into practice. And the best way to excite people to learn and help them build a growth mindset is to collaborate with them and make them feel a part of the journey. And who wouldn't want everyone to feel this way? Which leads me into sharing what we have planned for you today. We're going to walk you through our technical mentorship program's journey, focusing first on how we recognize the need for such a program at Benevity. Then we'll discuss the strategic steps we took in building it from inception to launch. We've already completed 2 full iterations of the technical mentorship program, and from that, we have some key learnings and future plans that we'd also like to share with you. We'll also leave a bit of time at the end for any questions that you might have.
Awesome. So why does Benevity need a technical mentorship program? Well, back in 2021, 2022, during the COVID pandemic, And similar to many big tech companies, Benevity was on a really high growth trajectory. Tech companies were booming due to the staggering shift towards online services and digital transformation. And with that growth came the challenges of hiring and retaining top talent. We knew that in order for us to stay competitive, we needed to have incentives specifically targeting retention. And everyone knows a good retention strategy has many different prongs like competitive compensation, benefits, recognition, rewards, work-life balance. But more specific to our technical group, one area we chose to focus on was to ensure there was professional development opportunities for all of our engineers at Benevity. And so some of the challenges that we were facing during this time was things like, number one, high developer churn. We were onboarding new people just as fast as they were offboarding. This certainly was not a unique challenge for Benevity and something all big tech companies were struggling with. However, it did result in the loss of subject matter expertise, which really increased our risk profile as our company was trying to scale and grow. The second challenge here was around our teams having a strong affinity to specific tech stacks and products. Our engineering teams were siloed and had very specific skill sets and would only want to develop within their own ecosystems. And because of this limitation, it really constrained our strategic options to be able to reposition teams in order to drive forward our higher priority projects and initiatives to deliver value back to our company. We really wanted to be in a position where we could scale our teams to be more adaptable to change. The third challenge was around poor developer experience. Majority of the reasons why people were leaving Benevity were for new opportunities, a new chance to help them grow their skills and climb the career ladder. This led us to believe that perhaps there was a gap within our company at ensuring that everyone at Benevity had strong career prospects and growth opportunities. The fourth challenge was that there was this general perception of software teams being slow to deliver new features and bring products to market, equating to a higher time to market. And the last challenge was that our company had more of and were attracting more junior and intermediate developers, and we wanted to build out and strengthen our senior and staff role composition. So based on all of these challenges, we believe that building out a technical mentorship program would help address most, if not all of them. And so when we started building out the technical mentorship program, we wanted to make sure we had a clear set of objectives. And so the core of the program was to focus on technical skill development of our individual contributors. And tying this back to our last slide, with Benevity having a higher composition of more junior and intermediate developers, we wanted to strengthen skill sets and develop folks more towards those senior roles and responsibilities. We knew that career growth was important to folks based on the feedback we received during our high period of churn, and so career development was also one of our primary goals. And lastly, knowledge transfer, and not just the transfer of technical skills, but domain knowledge to help break down knowledge silos and maintain organizational continuity with succession planning.
We also have some secondary goals attached to the program. We wanted to continue building a knowledge sharing culture and cross-pollination. Over the last few years, we acquired several companies, all in different geographical regions, making it challenging for folks to collaborate with each other, different domains, different cultures, different technical stacks. Growth is super exciting, but it also adds complexity. And then networking. Participating in the program provides a great opportunity to build relationships with people outside of your direct team. We launched this program post-pandemic, but several of us are still working remotely. I'm in Toronto and Bonnie is in Calgary. And so the mentorship program offered a more structured opportunity to connect and meet new people in the organization. And then also soft skill and leadership development. Mentors get the opportunity to develop leadership skills like having one-on-ones, giving feedback, goal setting, mentoring, accountability, and the act of teaching. Ultimately, we're building the next generation of technical leaders. So we've talked a bit about us, but we also wanted to share about our team. We can't take credit for building this committee, but what we will do is share the story of how we came to be. Creating a mentorship program from scratch required a strategic approach. We brought together a diverse team of leaders to form our mentorship steering committee. And Benevity is really big on DEIB, and we understand that having a diverse team would bring the best perspectives, ideas, and skills to the table. This committee played a crucial role in program development and execution. We were very intentional about ensuring cross-functional collaboration and strategic planning from day one. The recipe for bringing this team started with a call out for volunteers from our broader technical leadership group to help build out the program. And then a dash of people development support in the form of myself and Paula, and another dash of DevOps leadership, as traditionally the DevOps group was a bit siloed. And so we were intentional about getting representation there. And so we have Aleem, Avery, Camilo, and Manny on the team. One thing I want to note is everyone on the steering committee is really passionate about learning and development, but we all have full-time responsibilities outside of running this program. So all of the planning, organization, administration of the program was more of a side of desk passion project. It is a lot of work bringing a mentorship program to life, but what we found was many hands make for light work.
All right. Let's talk about the strategic steps we took to bringing this program to life. So the inception of this program started last year, August of 2022. And the genesis of the idea of having a technical mentorship program came from our principal developers. Our company streamlined the set of technical roles and restructured our technical role career definitions. We removed the team lead and technical lead roles, and now leadership was built into our individual contributor career rubric. And we also incorporated mentorship as a key responsibility for all of our software engineers, with a much higher expectation of mentorship in our more senior roles. Developing mentoring skills would have a direct impact to career growth opportunities. In September, we formed our steering committee. This team formation was a critical piece, as Cindy mentioned, which ensured that we had that cross-functional collaboration and strategic planning from day one. In the next couple of months, this is when we started to flesh out the program logistics. The steering committee collaborated on what needed to be included in our mentorship program, such as defining what support resources and structures our mentors would need and what success would look like for them, defining what the cadence of our program was going to be, defining what tools and structures were required for the program to be successful. And this meant leveraging all the tools that we had access to from our communication tools, email, Slack, Google Meet, and Confluence, which is our internal wiki, and Asana, our work management tool. And we'll take a deeper dive into what resources we set up later in this presentation. So starting in November, our team started to create some buzz within the technical org. We communicated through Slack channels, emails, technical leadership groups, and did a presentation of our mentorship program at our TechWide team meeting. We also had our executive sponsor and CTO, Jane Moran, help bring awareness, excitement, and visibility to our program through the tech org as well. And this was a critical piece to ensure folks understood the meaning and importance of the program. While I think we did a great job creating buzz, we were also aware that at Benevity, November and December is our giving season, which is our busiest time of the year. And so we didn't want to launch the program during that time and instead opted to wait for the new year. Unfortunately, when January came about, our company went through a layoff event, as did most other big tech companies at the time. And based on the climate, we decided to wait until February to launch. So we've run 2 full rounds of mentorship, and we are happy to share that we actually just kicked off our 3rd round of the program just earlier this month. And as you can see, from inception to launch, it took a mighty team of cross-functional leaders and approximately 5 to 6 months to get the program live.
And to make our mentorship program effective, we did establish a clear structure. So I'm going to take you through what the program structure looked like. Our technical mentorship program is a one-to-one experience. So that's one mentor to one mentee, with the caveat that a mentor could have more than one mentee based on their capacity. And I think I just saw a question about the length of time. So perfect timing. We recommend a 3-month cadence with a flexible structure. So having a regular cadence ensures that everyone has the awareness of when the next mentorship round begins, so they can work with their people leaders to find capacity to participate. A flexible structure in regards to start and end dates and meeting durations was decided upon by the mentors and mentees. We also went with an outcome-driven approach, and this was guided by the mentorship agreement. The agreement is a document that's filled out by the pairing and where they can build out their goals, determine a start and end date, meeting cadences, and durations. And as mentioned, our recommended cadence is 3 months, but agreements can actually extend beyond that duration if desired. Our guidance and expectation was for participants to spend around 4 to 6 hours per month. The expectation is to spend some company time, but may require personal time of the mentee, depending on their engagement goals. And we kept it confidential. Mentees were private and the pairings were private. We felt that the learning journey is owned by the mentee and they could share the details if they wanted to. It's just that we weren't sharing it.
So let's dig into some of the activities we needed to action to get our program up and running. So program launch. I talked a little bit about this when we were reviewing the strategic steps in building out the program. Communication really is key, and we leveraged all of our people and tools to help create visibility and excitement of the program well before launch to encourage maximum participation. This included a presentation on the technical mentorship program through our TechWide team meeting, Slack channels, email, and most importantly, we got our executive sponsor to promote the program within the broader tech org. To register in the program, participants had to fill out a survey that had targeted questions to understand their role levels and what skills mentors and mentees were looking to exchange. And we'll talk more about how we use this data to help drive our matching algorithm in the next slide. The steering committee prioritized a thoughtful and empathetic approach to participant matching in our program. However, to streamline the matching process and in true engineering fashion, we developed a software program utilizing a carefully crafted scoring algorithm based on agreed upon criteria. We knew the matching process was going to be tedious if we left it up to a manual process, and my worst nightmare, using Excel spreadsheets. When we first launched our program, we started with very constrained set of criteria to form our first matches as a baseline test. And we've since modified the algorithm to the following. So the first one here is we avoid pairing individuals under the same people leader. And people leader for Benevity just is the word manager that's more common to everyone else. So we avoid pairing people under the same manager as those folks would typically have an established working relationship and would already be learning from each other. We prioritize matching based on mentees' desired skills and the mentor's offered skills to offer the best experience for skill exchange. We matched career role levels that are at most 1 level apart, avoiding any skip levels. So for example, a junior developer would be paired with an intermediate, not a senior and above. Being paired with someone slightly ahead on the career ladder still offers a ton of learning opportunities and can also help mentees better understand expectations for their next career level. It also provides a more even distribution of matches and opens up the program for more mentorship opportunities. And then there's the avoidance of the intimidation factor, where a junior developer might be a little bit intimidating being paired with a senior or staff, for example, instead of an intermediate. So the next thing here was we preferred matching participants from the same city for time zone synchronization, and also the opportunity for in-person meetings if that's your jam. And then we favored we favored mentees who had not previously participated in the program before. We typically have had more mentees than mentors register in each round, and we wanted to encourage people to sign up, and so this boost would give newbies the best chance to participate. Once the software program completes all the matches, they are reviewed by the steering committee, which is our human touch to this process. We take a look at the participant personalities and learning styles and assess what may or may not work, and we make manual adjustments based on that. And then once the pairings have been finalized by the committee, we always reached out privately to the mentee first to ensure that they were okay moving forward with their assigned mentor, giving them the option to review and accept before proceeding with the program.
Every time we talk about this, I'm actually in complete and utter awe, and it always brings a smile to my face because this is the first time that I've worked closely with an engineering team. And for them to casually bring up that we need an algorithm for this and then just built it blew my mind, because I am guilty of using Excel, even though Bonnie hates it, to build out these pairings in our other mentorship program. And then when it came to the resources and support that we provided, we shared that we have the program wiki and FAQs. So we leverage our internal Confluence platform to create that wiki and FAQs for the mentor program. And this served as that first point of contact for our mentors, providing them with immediate answers to common questions and a clear understanding of the program structure and objectives. We also start each iteration with a kickoff training. A crucial part of our kickoff training was establishing a safe and supportive learning environment. We emphasized the importance of creating a space where mentors and mentees felt comfortable to share, learn, and grow. This involved training in soft skills like active listening, empathy, and providing feedback. By focusing on these aspects, we aimed to foster trust and openness, which was essential for effective mentorship. And then our Confluence page featured a curated selection of resources aimed at improving both technical and soft skills. This included access to the Udemy Engineering Resources Catalog, and which offered a wide range of learning materials. And to also manage the mentorship activities, we utilized Asana. And this allowed mentors and mentees to work asynchronously, setting goals, scheduling meetings, and tracking progress in an organized and efficient manner. And we actually automated the handling of our mentor agreements by also using Asana as an inbox. This not only streamlined the process, but also provided a centralized location for storing and managing these important documents, ensuring clarity and commitment in the mentor and mentee relationships. Something we wanted to note is that we really did leverage many of our existing tools throughout the program. As Bonnie mentioned earlier, we utilized Slack for seamless internal communication within the mentoring community. The integration of Asana and Confluence into our program capitalized on familiar platforms. So this reduced the learning curve and enhanced the user engagement. And whenever possible, we did automate processes to improve efficiency and reduce manual efforts. And then when it comes to feedback, a big component of how we wanted to run this program is really by testing, trying, and learning along the way. In order to understand the impact and improve, we conducted post-engagement surveys. This was distributed to mentors, mentees, and their people leaders. The feedback gathered was key in measuring the impact and identifying areas for enhancements. The feedback collected was quantitative and qualitative, providing insights into the personal and professional growth experienced by participants, which Bonnie will dive deeper into.
Great. Let's take a look at our metrics. So we've launched into our third season, which started at the beginning of this month. And this is what the success of our program looks like with the metrics that we've collected to date. From a participation health, over 3 rounds of mentorship, and out of all the people in tech at Benevity, we averaged around 21% participation or 97 total participants. And overall, we're pretty happy so far with this participation rate, but obviously there's still lots of room for improvement. Of those 21% who participated, 62% were mentees and 47% were mentors. If anyone's wanting to do the math here, you'll notice that the number of mentees and mentors don't add up to 100%. And that's because a participant could register as both a mentor and a mentee if they have a capacity to do so. I also want to make note here that because we had more mentees than mentors, unfortunately, we weren't able to include everyone who wanted to participate in the program. As I mentioned earlier, when we discussed our matching algorithm, we did have a matching boost on new mentees entering into the program to ensure that those that had not participated would be given the best opportunity to be matched. From a diversity perspective, we had a total of 25 participants that identify as female for a total participation rate of 26%. At Benevity, overall, we have about 56% women representation. However, in product and tech, we're a little bit lower and closer to about 33%, which is above the industry standard in Canada, which is closer to 25%. So a 26% participation rate is actually really good. From a personal perspective, though, and in my role as an administrator for the Women's Impact Network at Benevity, I would love to see all our female tech professionals take part in this program. I strongly believe there is an immense value in this program for career development. And at this point, gender is the only diversity metric we've captured, but in the future, we definitely want to take a closer look at how we can capture more intersectional metrics and continue to build more diversity into our program. So let's take a closer look at round 2 specifically and see what metrics are telling us about our program. So for round 2, we actually modified our post-engagement survey so that we could capture some additional qualitative metrics. And here are the results. Just note that not only did we survey our mentors and mentees, but we also surveyed their people leaders to better understand the impact this program was having from their perspective. So from a mentee impact, and out of all the people leader survey respondents, 100% noticed at least some improvement in the confidence of the mentee's learned skill. Compare that to the mentor impact, only 56% of people leaders noticed improvements in their mentor's taught skill. This was an interesting metric, and we'll speak more to this in our learnings, but we believe this metric might be telling us that there might be like a bit of a disconnect between our people leaders and mentors, or it's entirely possible that it's just harder to differentiate improvements to mentors' taught skills, which also includes those soft skills. In terms of positive reviews, 100% of our participants would recommend the program to their peers, and 97% of both mentors and mentees said their confidence has improved in their learned or taught skill. So overall, we think that these are some pretty positive results. Just getting a little bit of lag here. Okay, so now we...
Sorry, we have a question here, Bonnie, from Chris, I just saw.
Okay.
So if the pairing, go ahead.
If the pairing and the skill being focused on, how could the people leaders know what skill the mentee was working on to answer that question if the skills were private? So when we talked to our people leaders, we made the goals of the agreement available to them. So the mentee and mentor relationships were kept private, but the skills themselves were made available to the people leaders.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next slide here, which is our participant testimonials. We wanted to share some feedback that we received directly from our participants about the impact the program has had on them. So this feedback here is from a software developer who was a mentee in the program. The mentorship gave me the opportunity to discuss the software architecture with an experienced developer who had valuable input. It helped me gain confidence when my mentor agreed with parts of my design, and it helped improve the design when they had suggestions. So I just want to note here that all software developers at Benevity are able to get consistent feedback through regular work and their teams, but having a dedicated mentor and an extended amount of time with them gives the mentee and mentor an opportunity to work closer together with consistent context. A mentor can be a sounding board, as this testimonial highlights, and a mentee can grow beyond their own experience.
And this here is from a mentor in the program. Technical mentorship has allowed me to develop my ability to share technical skills and knowledge. It's provided an opportunity to work on soft skills around communication, feedback, and goal setting. The engagement from mentees has an invigorating effect and motivates me to help provide guidance on their area of focus. This was incredible for us to see that in developing their mentees, our mentors did increase their soft skill development, but there was also a very motivating aspect of the program. I know we have some questions in the chat, and I'm super excited to take them. We're almost at the end here, so I will go through the lessons learned and future plans, and then we would go into the Q&A. So there were so many lessons learned here that we had, which we will be factoring into our future plans. But first, I wanted to kind of come back to our program goals. It has been really rewarding to see, based on the testimonials and survey feedback, that we've been hitting a few of our key goals. And we also want to give a shout out to Tomomi and Marco at Technicon, as I'm really not sure if we would have dived into this program and analysis as deeply if we hadn't had the incentive of getting to be here today with all of you. So as we move forward, we'll continue to refine our methods for measuring the impact of these goals, so even more metrics and analysis. When it comes to really like what we've learned the main key points, the importance of involving people leaders to engage their team members and use this program as a component of their development, including sharing this with our new hires so that we can keep awareness up. Keeping the program to be structured and flexible, so setting guidelines on how to approach timeline and goal setting will set pairs up for success, but then flexibility in how each navigated is really key for thriving. And then timing and capacity awareness. We really need to be mindful of running the program over busy times due to constrained capacity. So for further context, as Bonnie mentioned, we are now in giving season, which is our busiest time of year. And to be transparent, this has been the lowest participation rate that we've had in the program. And then clarifying the mentee role. We need to help the mentee understand how they can drive the relationship and how and their own development with a mentor. And there's so much more we want to do with this program, but we really want to build on these learnings. And so what we plan to do is to leverage leadership team and people leaders. So to increase engagement, awareness, and participation, we want to integrate this as part of how our leaders encourage development with their teams, and actually work more with our executive sponsor to bring this program out to the organization. And then we want to capture more metrics. As Bonnie shared earlier, we learned a lot about this program through the metrics. We want to capture even more so that we can continue to understand and build the program. And we want to put more of a focus on DIB. We know we have a 25 participation rate for those who are female identifying, but we haven't really dived into understanding other aspects of DIB efforts and how we can further integrate this. And then empowering our mentees. We want to clarify the mentee role and responsibilities and provide them support so that they can drive their own development. And as we wrap up a little bit of what we've done with our program, we would just really want to say that we know that there's always better. So we're really excited to continue to learn and grow with all of our participants in the program so that we can continuously make this a better experience for them. And with that, I would love to open it up to the questions.
I think we have some questions already there. From Vidya, how structured the program was after the matches were made? For instance, like how much, so you did all this like matching, by the way, awesome talk. Thank you for that. I love the arc that you have to the conversation, which is, you noticed the problem, you came up with a solution, you enrolled the leadership team into supporting you into that, you rolled it out not once, but 2-3 times. And then you measured and sort of like closed the loop on all that and provided metrics and so on. So it's a really nice arc of a success story with a lot of learning. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So there was I know there was one question at least from Vidya on the structure of what happened.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So after the matches were made, mentors and mentees would meet and fill out that mentorship agreement. And from there is kind of, we leave it up to the mentor and mentee to collaborate and figure out the details of what that mentoring relationship was going to look like in defining their goals, how often they were going to meet, basically what they wanted that agreement to look like. It was totally up to them. We operate the mentorship program on a 3-month cadence so that everyone at Benevity has an awareness of when mentorship starts up, and so that they can sign up in that next round. If that makes sense.
We did give a recommendation that they met bi-weekly, but with all things, we said these are some recommendations for you to build on, but then you can make it flexible to what works for your goals, as Bonnie mentioned.
Got it. So you basically created a little bit of a guidance on like what the best cadence is and how to interact with one another, but not necessarily the details of like what to talk to, how to discuss it, and left that a little bit more free form. So.
Yeah, we gave them a bit of like a meeting template, but then they would actually structure the conversation for themselves. So the guidance was that you would revisit what they wanted to learn in the start of your session so that you can talk about it, give feedback, and then dive into the next one.
Got it. And then Rajan had a question which we often get, and it's along the lines of like, what are the incentives, right? Like, so especially for experts that are sharing themselves, it could be through teaching, workshops, mentorship, etc. But what's in for them? And I think you touched on some of these, but it's a question that often comes up, and would love to hear your feedback. What's in for mentors?
Do you want me to take this one, Cindy? Or okay, I'll start, and you feel free to add in. I think the biggest incentive as a mentor really is about like teaching is the best way to learn and enforce those concepts within yourself. And so even though you're teaching concepts that you already know, you're actually strengthening your own skills and improving yourself. And we at Benevity have a culture of helping each other. And so this, the incentive really is just embedding yourself in Benevity's culture, making people better, making yourself better. And of course, mentorship, like I'd mentioned before, is built into our career rubric. And so it is an expectation for everyone at Benevity to participate as a mentor at some point in their career.
And that's something that is so true, and that's something that actually surprised me quite a bit when I was in your shoes at Twitter, how willing, especially technical folks, were just to stand up and share themselves, right? Like that was actually pretty cool, and a nice surprise. But Chris has a follow-up question, which is, how much of that did you do? Like, to what extent did you sort of like remind them that by sharing themselves, you know, they get to understand and learn themselves? Or was that just something that was innate in the folks that you hired?
Yeah, maybe Cindy, you could talk about the Power Hour.
Yeah, so we did something called Power Hour, which we called it the kickoff training. But basically, Power Hour was, we condensed all the soft skill enablement that we wanted to provide them into this 1 hour where we talked about why this program was impactful, but really also emphasized the importance that being a mentor is a bit of a gift word. And we talked about why the relationship was so important and what they could get out of it and how they can learn. So we really did make that a focus when we started it up. And then we also provided them a lot of tools on kind of like how they could make that happen throughout the iteration.
Got it. And I remember this kind of reminds me of we hosted Airbnb many years ago on stage here when they launched their peer mentorship program. And their model was that to be a mentor, you must take a 4-hour workshop. So they actually had a formal sort of like, you have to be onboarded onto being a mentor. And they actually have a framework that they used that was based on GROW, goals, reality, opportunities, and way forward. Model for coaching mentorship. So yeah, so that's pretty cool that you do something similar. Andrew had a question. Well, what happens when things don't work out? Like, it seems like you have some feedback loops, and you would know how things are going. So how do you manage that when it's not going perfectly well?
Honestly, I don't remember a situation where this happened. We did have some relationships that ended early, mainly because one of the partners left Benevity, and so obviously they couldn't continue that relationship. But we haven't experienced this situation yet. I think our matching algorithm, and again, the human touch that we have evaluating our matches before we actually release them, I think does add a little bit of value here in preventing this from situation. Not saying that it can't happen, but I haven't experienced this yet.
And the other thing too is one of the things that Bonnie mentioned was that human touch piece. So even though after we matched the algorithm, we wanted to make sure that we talked, like we spoke to each one-on-one first to make sure that they were happy with that relationship so that we could mitigate any issues in advance before that actually came to the pairing.
Got it. Thank you. I want to see if there are any other questions. And in the meantime, maybe I'll ask the question about the matching algorithm. We've seen multiple approaches to this, right? Like one is, you have some piece of software that automatically matches and says, Charlie and Mary are paired up and they're gonna, have a mentor-mentee relationship. The other model is to put an onus on somebody, like usually a mentee, to browse available mentors and tap them on, and make it easy to tap on the shoulder. So it's a little bit more of a mentee is in a control, mentors open themselves up and make themselves available. And we've also seen the twist on that, where it's up to mentors to find mentees, as in leaders having almost like a quota of people that they want to mentor. So what are your thoughts on automating this versus providing suggestions or a way to browse and tap one another on the shoulder and make it easy?
I'm excited about this one. Can I start first, Bonnie?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
This was a big discussion for us. Well, one, still mind blown that we built an algorithm. But before we built that, we talked about why can a mentor not just go find someone or a mentee? And one of the topics that came about was DIB. And we are remote, and we have people in the organization who are at varied lengths of their career. Bonnie, having been here for 5 years, knows substantially more Beneviteites than I do, especially since she's based in headquarters. So in terms of looking at how we can really develop our entire team in more of a fair way, we wanted to make it so that we did the algorithm rather than having it so that people were picking each other, because you're going to pick what you know. You're going to pick who you know. And so that was something that we wanted to avoid. I'll pass it over to you, Bonnie.
Yeah, I mean, that sums it up pretty much. I think as we evolve this program, it would be nice to open up the program to choice. But again, we kind of started small and constrained. We're still iterating on this process, and even our matching algorithm, like it works. It's fantastic. But I think the next level here is to perhaps get some software to help us run this program, because it is quite taxing on the steering committee to have to run the program manually. And having some mentorship software would open up, I think, the program to more choice. But what Cindy says is very valid. I mean, it's a real problem with a distributed work environment. It's, who is going to be who you pick. And, we may have certain people at those higher levels where everyone wants to be mentored by those people because they're so awesome. But that doesn't mean that they're the only ones that can teach the particular skill that you're looking for. So this algorithm here has helped us kind of distribute our mentorship pairings a little bit more equally.
Got it. That makes sense. That's a good angle. And thank you for that. Any other questions? I know some folks in the audience are either running programs or thinking about running programs, so mentorship programs. Any other questions, comments, how to implement this?
Great questions, by the way.
Thank you. So I guess you've done this a few times and you've iterated a few times, got some data points back, kind of optimizing. Any big bets going forward? Like, opening it up and scaling it is one such bet, but anything else that's kind of on the horizon that you're willing to share or excited about?
I think like one thing that we're really excited about is we are going to bring this more to speaking to our business partners about this, to speaking to the other leaders in tech, and see how else we can integrate this so that it's an ongoing development conversation. One of the things that we found, and actually Bonnie as part of Pi Time, is that some of the mentorships that noticed a very dramatic increase was around when they were able to work on an active project while doing their mentorship pairing. And so that's something that is just something that's very much on our radar to see, like, how can we actually kind of make this more well-known that you could use this mentorship program while working on a project.
Got it. And we've seen one of the things when we looked at different kinds of mentorship programs, we've seen different formats, right? Like, so like onboarding buddies could be one, which is like sort of like you're new to a company. That's the use case. There could be a career growth, which sounds like you cover a lot of. So it's a one-on-one, and it's like, I want to get to the next level. What's my career growth mentor? It could be a technical in nature, like I'm working on a project and I don't understand the technical stack. I want to run some ideas by. So it's a third model that we've seen. But there's this fourth one, which is more about like it's almost like a peer mentorship, peer group mentorship, where it goes beyond one-on-one. And I used to do this for engineering leaders, engineering managers that were sort of new to that experience, where it was a small group, 7 ± 2 people, and we would share things we would basically learn from one another in an unstructured way, but it was sort of like a peer mentorship. So any thoughts going beyond just one-on-one to a small closed group type of relationships?
I think that's a great idea personally. Would love to see that happen at Benevity. Maybe, getting some software to help us run the program. I think that would probably ease the load for the team. We also have a group mentorship program at Benevity. It's not so much peer-based because it is kind of spread out across the company. And Cindy is one of the program administrators of the group mentorship program. So you do have the opportunity to learn that way as well.
Yeah, we have a couple. And then one of the things that came up in our findings for these metrics is we had a few of our participants actually say that they would like to explore in the future having 2 mentees that they mentor at the same time. So it's been really interesting kind of listening to the feedback to see how we could explore that in the future. So glad you brought that up, Marco, because we've been talking about that one.
Cool. Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get to do this talk again in a year or two and kind of see the evolution of your program. We usually love to see those longer arcs as well. So, but thank you for a fabulous talk, lessons learned, and like really speaking from like your own experience of like building, like noticing this, building it out, closing the loop, getting the data, and seeing what works, and sharing with your peers. So super appreciative. Thank you. And this is, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to pop this. One thing I wanted to say is, like, to continue the conversation, if anyone wants to reach out to us and has questions, like, this has been a really amazing community from getting to know you, Marco, and Tomomi. So we just wanted to put that out there. Awesome.
And if you haven't joined the Slack channel, please do. That's also another way to interact and connect with one another in more real time. So you can, we have that as a resource as well. And as a reminder, we're going to be doing in-person happy hour, Technocon happy hour in December. So Tomomi's got details on that. And then in January, we're going to learn about AI and the future of work with Mike Kruska. And then in February, we're going to talk about Coaching for Learning with Joel and Dion, who spoke before, and they have a new book on coaching for learning. So thank you all. Great to see everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.